Good morning, traders. This is Tony D from easyMarkets in Sydney. We had ourselves a bit of a surprisingly weak number on Friday from the US CPI. Everyone expecting super strong numbers from the hurricane effect. They did come in strong, but zero point 0.5 versus zero point 0.6, a little under. In terms of the core number, though, it missed also zero point 0.1 versus zero point 0.2 forecast. Now, what this had was the effect of causing some dramatic US dollar weakness, so around 70 pip higher on the euro straight off the bat, but the market couldn't sustain that. Now, what we've had over the weekend as well is that although the numbers missed expectations, they were still strong. Okay, now if they're still strong, and the core retail sales beat as well, and the consumer sentiment, which came out a little bit later, was strong. The US dollar, the chances of raising rates increased, by the end of the day. Now, this is, how the market really responds. So while it didn't get to the dizzying heights they expected, the fact that the numbers are stronger on the back of the wage inflation numbers from the NFP, which are also very strong, means that there is the potential here that the market could start to price in further rate hikes than just December. You had Yellen speaking over the weekend as well, and you've seen that that's opened up this the euro on the back foot, US dollar a little bit stronger across the board. As she said that it was encouraging, that wage inflation number, and she still expects CPI inflation numbers to get back towards 2% year on year in the coming months. Now, if that's the case, then all of a sudden the Fed's dot plot for next year, which has already got 4 rate hikes in it, could start to look more realistic. And you can't doubt the Fed when they say they're going to raise rates. They have been proven that they're very keen to do that. So it is likely December's on the cards now, and save a dramatic change of sentiment or change in data in the next couple of months. So steady as she goes in that front. In terms of the euro's response and how far the US dollar can move on that, I think the market was caught a little bit too aggressive short the US dollar at that point. So you see, we didn't make fresh highs. And you're seeing a little bit of buoyancy with the dollar yen as well from its lows. It hasn't really got back above that 112 just yet, but if it can get it back above 112, then perhaps we have found a short-term bottom, a bit more range trading to go. In terms of what themes the market's going to play this week, if it wants to turn focus to the ECB, then that could be a big motivator for the euro. But so far, the market's been pretty coy on that. There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of talk coming out from ECB sources in the last few days suggesting that tapering is happening for sure. And that hasn't provided the sort of support that I was expecting, and the sort of support of the sort of rally that it could easily have happened. So the lack of follow through, or the lack of appetite for the market to be buying euro at these levels is a cause of concern, because we're nowhere near 120 yet. And so it's the potential for the market to react more aggressively than it has. You have to read between the lines there that perhaps the story isn't as clean as we first thought. Definitely not the reaction in the European bonds that is going to cause the euro to rally yet. So we haven't seen anything other than what is expected. So you're probably going to have to wait to see if the market can get something a little bit more hawkish or dovish from the ECB, a little bit closer or at the actual meeting before we can make that next big move. But so far, all the leaks from the ECB sources that we got on Friday suggesting that we are getting tapering in October, and it's just a matter of size of the reduction and the nature of the program going forward, whether it's going to be open-ended or just an extension for 12 months, whether there's going to be a cap on total number of QE purchases in the future. Those things were all pretty much on the talking discussion points as well. And so no big surprises yet, hasn't allowed the market to get that bullish sort of hype. And maybe we're just too far away. It's too early to see the rally yet, but we better see it soon, otherwise the Euro bulls will start to be disappointed. Alright guys, the other thing to be watching this week, we have a little bit of action here in Iraq. You've seen the Iraqi army moving north towards the Kurdish-held Kirkuk and its oil fields to reclaim ownership after the Kurdish referendum suggested that they were looking for independence. Now this is potentially a flashpoint for confrontation internally in in Iraq, but broadly it does actually bring a lot of foreign powers involved in that. So Syria, Iran, and Turkey all have huge sort of invested interest in keeping Kurdistan or a potential Kurdistan under bay, and so this is they all could be on the same team in terms of putting down any sort of Kurdish uprising. So this is where oil can get very spiky. You've seen a pretty strong reaction so far in the open, but we haven't seen any flashpoint in terms of the armies moving forward, but there haven't been any conflict yet. All right, but this is potentially the biggest news in the oil market this week, so something to keep a close eye on if you're trading it. Later in the week, we do get the Japanese elections as well, so this is potentially another point of concern for the dollar yen. And also, if you get any more confirmation about the new Fed chair, who's going to replace Yellen, or if it's going to be Yellen, that is the other big story that could move the markets. So something to keep an eye on this week. Other than that, you see stock markets are still very strong, so risk appetite is on. So there's nothing to report in the terms of change there. Alright guys, if you do want to have a bit more in-depth discussion, because there is a fair bit going on we just covered there, some of those topics are not as easy to explain once over, and especially if you're talking about the ECB and what's happening there with the euro, you want to have a bit more of a deeper discussion, come through to the dealing room on the contact numbers below. If you're not a member of the ATG group and we get a dealer, please use the link below and you can join Easy Markets to get a dealer like myself or Russell Sandiford. Alright guys, cut out the noise, trade safe.